and their cholesterol shoots back up. I mean, like, how dare he says that. First cited statement in the book, egg yolks dramatically reduce cholesterol, the opposite of what this science shows. And look, it's not some like harmless foolishness like coming out and saying the earth is flat, right? I mean, heart disease is the #1 killer of men and women, and this could actually really hurt people. So much for my benefit of the doubt. Yes?
Does that have any aspect of being illegal?
What? No! You can publish anything! Oh my, right. No, that's such a great one. Wait, can you just like lie in diet books? Obviously you haven't read many diet books, right? You can just absolutely say anything you want. We have this wonderful First Amendment. I love it, right? But you can say anything you want, and book publishers will trip over themselves to publish your lies if they tell people good things about their bad habits, right? Who doesn't want to, I get the pepperoni pizza. Boom. All right. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Now, so this is actually a three-part series. So notice I didn't actually get to talk about lectins. This was just kind of my whiff test in terms of, how possibly, just to let's take a step back and look at this. So I can actually, if people are interested in lectins, I can go on and do the rest of this bit. Okay. All right. So let's do the next one, and then we can stop and go to some other topic or whatever. But I don't know. So this is okay. So let's look into the lectins issue, because as is so often the case, like Atkins pointed out, the SnackWell cookies weren't good for us. That white flour, white sugar, these refined grain products are not good for us. So that kernel of truth led him to say, okay, bacon and butter diet for everybody. And so, I mean, is there some kernel of truth about this lectin thing that allows him to create this whole crazy book? All right, well, let's do it. Okay, so let's go back. Oh, so I actually have to bring up a whole new set of PDFs here. We can do that. This is kind of a little behind the scenes. This is how it happens in nutrition. All right, here we go. Okay, boom. Okay. All right, in the 1800s, a compound was discovered in castor beans, which we would come to know as the first of a class of lectin proteins. Lectin proteins, these are natural. There we go. Natural compounds found throughout our food supply, but concentrated beans, whole grains, and certain fruits and vegetables. Now, every decade or two, in the popular literature, whether it's the blood type diet or our favorite new book here, or in the medical literature, this is not just the popular literature. Oh, that's not. There we go. Here in the Pakistan Journal of Nutrition, the suggestion every once in a while that lectins may be causing disease. Now, it's easy to raise hysteria about lectins. After all, that first one, found back in 1889, went by the name of ricin. Ricin is known to be a potent homicidal poison, which was used by the Kremlin to assassinate anti-communist dissidents, also used by rogue chemistry professors, for that matter. And ricin is actually ricin is a lectin. And rice is lectin. Thankfully, however, many lectins are not like ricin. Oh, looking for the orange quote. Orange. Boom. However, many lectins are non-toxic, like those found in, such as those in tomatoes, lentils, other common foods, and even the ones that are toxic, like those found in kidney beans, are utterly destroyed. You can see this orange quote here, utterly destroyed by proper cooking. But you cannot eat raw kidney beans. Okay? And if you do, you will end up nausea, vomiting, diarrhea within hours thanks to lectins, which would otherwise be destroyed by adequate cooking. You say, how do you even eat raw kidney beans? Like, the only way they're sold uncooked is in dried bean form, which are like little rocks. Like, how could you even, like, okay. Well, that was the first question I had, and it turns out, so in the first reported outbreak, you could see that an impromptu supper was made with raw kidney beans. What they did is they just emptied it into a saucepan and soaked it overnight, but never cooked them. So they just soaked in water, but never cooked. And similarly, you can't even put things in a slow cooker here. Slow cooker is not enough. The heat doesn't get high enough in a slow cooker. Dried kidney beans have to be boiled. Dried kidney beans have to be boiled. Kidney beans soaked in. It is recommended that kidney beans soaked for at least 5 hours, like soak overnight, and then boiled for at least 10 minutes. You say, 10 minutes? Kidney beans would not be done after 10 minutes. And exactly, right? That's the point. So yeah, cooking pre-soaked beans for a few minutes. Cooking pre-soaked beans for a few minutes can destroy the lectins, but as you can see in the red here, right? I mean, it takes like an hour before they're even palatable, edible. But before you can flatten them with a fork kind of thing, right? So the point is the lectins are long gone before you'd even kind of eat them, right? So it's not like, oh, have I boiled them long enough? Look, if you can eat them, then long gone. Okay. Now that was with pre-soaking. Without pre-soaking, here we go. Oh, that's pressure cooking. Hold on.
Pressure cooking cooks now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yes. No, it does. We're getting it.
In about 10 minutes.
Strength. We're looking for yellow. Oh yeah, yellow strength. Okay, without pressure cooking, it takes 45 minutes. Without pre-soaking, excuse me. Without pre-soaking, but an hour, but it would make an hour to soften the beans to be edible enough here. So basically, cooking here, the yellow underline point, cooking, the point here is that by the time they're considered edible, we've virtually destroyed all lectin activity. But even, see here, 12 hours cooking at 65 degrees C, which is just like hot tea, like the temperature of hot tea. So like a slow cooker kind of thing. Even 12 hours is insufficient to kill them all. And as you can see in these red quotes, you could, if you soaked raw kidney beans in that kind of hot tea water for 12 hours, you could actually still eat them. They'd be kind of firm and rubbery. But you could imagine someone putting them in some kind of raw vegetable salad or something, just completely clueless, and then bring it to your vegan potluck. And that could make people sick. And it has made people sick. Serious report of 50 outbreaks. And all of which could have been completely prevented if we had. Yeah, you're way ahead of me. All these could have been easily prevented if they had just cooked the darn things, soaked overnight, drained them, boiled for at least 10 minutes, or they could have just eaten canned beans. Where's my canned beans? Yes, the canning process destroyed, right? The canning process is a cooking process. Right? You say, oh, raw beans, I don't want to just open a can and eat them. No, it's cooked. I mean, the canning process is a cooking process, and so, none of these outbreak incidents were ever tied to eating canned beans. We have known about this since the, since the early 60s, that conventional cooking methods can effectively destroy lectins in beans, and therefore it's possible to ignore any human nutrition-related problems. I need some hope. Where are we? Human problems associated with lectins from properly processed legumes. So yeah, you can show that feeding lectins to rats can cause problems, or to cell tissues in a petri dish. But in these articles, these kind of articles like this that claim that dietary lectins can cause problems, the only effect that they're able to actually name in terms of humans. So they talk about all these rat studies. Let's give some raw beans to rats. But the only ones that are pointed here are these raw, undercooked kidney bean accidents, right? Incidents.
I might add also that it's also true for cannellini beans and.
So cannellini beans are white kidney beans. So absolutely. Here's another one of those. Do dietary lectins cause diseases of affluence? Well, how about they test this hypothesis? And so this is one of those studies. How are they going to test this hypothesis? Well, what they did is they performed a trial on 24 pigs. What they did is they compared a paleo pig diet to a cereal-based swine feed, as if they could not find any people willing to actually go on a paleo diet for a few weeks. So in response to one such review, one of these kind of reviews that suggest things are bad, they talk about how this is really all just based on animal experiments, laboratory rodents, and so this peer reviewer cautioned, look, come on, peer reviewer. So this peer reviewer cautioned, look, we ought to be very cautious and not draw any conclusions about the involvement of dietary lectins to cause disease without definitive and positive proof. And this was written more than a quarter century ago, and still, to this day, such clinical proof, meaning human proof, has yet to materialize. What we do have, as I mentioned before, are studies like these. What we do have in these last 25 years is just growing evidence that legumes, beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils are good for us, associated not only with a longer lifespan, but significantly lower rates of colorectal cancer, a leading cancer killer, as well as considered a natural, low cost, natural, cost-effective, free from side effects solution for the prevention and treatment